Hello, this is News for Scotland, and we recorded this show on the 23rd of May. I'm Hugh, and this is Jeanette. Now, tonight we're going to look at some of the stories that have come to us from this week. I know there's an election on, but we will be referring to that a bit tonight, and we will be making plenty of special programmes on that in the next 5 weeks or so, isn't it? 5 or 6 weeks. Anyway, the Parliament hasn't dissolved yet, so more on that later. Now, some of the stories we've come up this week, we have a maths theme. There's going to be a lot of statistics, isn't there, and opinion polls out. So this week we heard that, in fact, Wednesday was National Numeracy Day. That's yesterday. And the Scottish Government has marked that date by appointing a maths teacher to a lead role in improving Scots maths curriculum. Andy Brown, who has also been a head teacher, said that maths is a subject that can bring joy and wonder, and he's delighted to be appointed as a National Mathematics Special Advisor. Commenting on Scotland's performance on a PISA International Educational Survey last year, Education Minister Jenny Gilruth said that our performance in maths was similar to the average among advanced countries, but she did agree that average is not good enough. She did add, however, that there have recently been signs of improvement since the PISA results were published last year. Andy Brown will work on updating the maths curriculum and advising the Minister on different approaches to teaching, learning and assessment in that subject. So let's move on to a story about numbers.
Yep.
Here's some numbers on Scotland's carbon footprint. Well, just 2 days ago, the statistical team working for Scotland's chief economist has published the latest figures on carbon emissions. And these are summarised as our country's carbon footprint. The stats cover the period from 1998 to 2020. And the headline figure is that our overall carbon footprint has fallen by 33.3%. Which happens to be the speed that an old LP rotates at.
Oh, yeah, I remember them.
I hope it didn't do the numbers in the back of
Not the shellac ones.
No, yeah, that's right. Don't write in a shellac. So now what that means, by the way, is we've dropped, we said there were plenty of numbers, we've dropped from 73.1 million tonnes of carbon dioxide to 48.8 million. These numbers have to be estimates, of course, because the team has to work on 3 different sources of CO2 production. Firstly, there's our own domestic activity. We're burning electricity here right now, of course, aren't we? So just putting the kettle on means that's a sort of home-produced CO2, if you like. However, we have to look at the carbon footprint that's sort of embedded in the stuff that we use or bring from somewhere else. So the team has also looked at the amount of goods that are used in Scotland, but which came from England, Wales or Northern Ireland. And they have to, I guess, looking at the transport and in how they were produced, they have to estimate a carbon footprint for those goods and services also. And then thirdly, they do the same exercise for imports, which is mainly from China. So they have to try and figure out how the stuff was made. And was that, in fact, made using electricity that was generated from coal, for example? So if you don't do all of that tracking back, you can't really get a proper true CO2 figure. So I guess we have to see these figures are estimates, but there's certainly a huge amount of work has gone into it. And it is a very long report, which I'm summarising very briefly. So we might do a special on that once I've had time to read the rest of it. Plenty of numbers. Okay, do we want to... Have you got a story now, or will I move on to John Swinney's... Right. So as we know, with election week, it is actually just about time that the Scottish Government, in fact, moved on to its new priorities. We've got a brief story on that, but in fact, later on, probably tomorrow, the Scottish Government is actually going to publish its new programme for government. So what do they intend to push through Parliament for the rest of this year and up until the Scottish elections, which, of course, are in 2 years' time, 2 years this month. So John Swinney has already said on Wednesday the direction he wants his government to take as he charts a path away from Humza Yousaf's administration. In the statement earlier on this week, he repeated his promise when he took the job in Parliament of working constructively with the other parties, an approach which he says sees our Parliament working at the best. Because he said that the day before the general election is concerned. So I don't know if that's going to put a strain on how well they're going to work together over the next few weeks. In his statement anyway, Mr Swinney made no mention of the controversial gender reforms which caused so much political damage to his predecessors, and instead focused on driving down child poverty. He also made it clear that the vital tool for securing that aim is a healthy and growing economy. Mr Swinney said that his government will work with business to grow the economy to invest in net zero and to deliver stronger public services. In defending the SNP's previous record, the First Minister said that head for head, economic growth and productivity, according to him, has been stronger in Scotland than in the rest of the UK since 2007, the date, of course, when the SNP began to form governments. So he says so anyway. I don't know what the stats are. We might look at that later in a deep dive. He also repeated the statistic that about 100,000 children have been lifted out of poverty so far with the child payment scheme, which is unique to Scotland. And in this election year, the SNP government knows it has an uphill task to reverse the party's slide in the opinion polls. Once in a dominant position, about 20 points ahead of Labour 2 years ago, the SNP's lead has evaporated, and 2 recent polls actually show Labour ahead of the SNP, and that's for the first time in years. So we wrote that the other day. So now that the election has been declared, no doubt we're going to find a lot more opinion poll information coming our way. OK, Jeanette, will we move on to the contaminated blood scandal? Or have you got another story to do first?
Yeah, I haven't got. I can tell you, you've got that one.
Oh, I've got that one, right. So this is from our colleague.
Scotland needs entrepreneurs. If you
do that one now, and then yes, our colleague Yvonne has written up on what's happening on other inquiry. So let's look at entrepreneurship.
Our new economy minister, Kate Forbes, MSP, has announced more support for new business startups. The package is going to be worth $5 million. Is to provide end-to-end support, helping new ventures get off the ground and setting them on the path to growth. Support also begins before a company is even founded. This scheme will encourage underrepresented groups to consider starting a new business. Women entrepreneurs in particular are underrepresented, so the Scottish Government is committed to last year's Pathways report by Anna Stewart, which found that only 1 out of 5 entrepreneurs are female. Furthermore, only 2% of institutional investment goes to businesses which are led by women. So Miss Forbes, who was at the National Roboterium, said that innovation was at the heart of our economy and that Scotland has the skills, talent and facilities to become one of Europe's best start-up economies.
And again, in this week, I think it's not surprising that Kate Forbes is focusing on entrepreneurship. And of course, if you look at the big companies in the world, a lot of them didn't exist 20 years ago. They were all startups. So what they're looking for is startups which are going to grow and employ people.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
What 2% of the investment goes to women. So there's definitely something to get started on there.
Yep, indeed, yep.
So as I said a minute ago, our colleague Yvonne has contributed this story on the contaminated blood scandal. It was a hollow victory, she says, for sufferers and their families a couple of days ago, as after the usual lengthy inquiry, at last inquiry chair Sir Brian Langstaff spoke up and declared what we all knew to be the case, that over a period of some 50 years, successive governments and the National Health Service had deliberately concealed the truth about the use of contaminated blood products given to sick people, adults and children across Britain, and the devastating impact this has had and continues to have on the victims and their families. The sizable report contains a litany of examples of unheeded warnings about what would become the biggest treatment disaster in NHS history. Clinicians and ministers were told about the risks, but patients were lied to and infected during trials carried out without their consent, or in the case of children, without the consent of their parents. Also, there were delays in informing patients of their infections, stretching to years in some cases. The NHS and successive governments compounded the agony by refusing to accept that wrong had been done, said Langstaff, after being given a standing ovation on Monday by the more than 1,000 victims and affected people who gathered in London to hear the report's findings. There's much talk now of significant compensation payments being made to victims and their families. However, no amount of money can bring back health and indeed life to those affected. Faith in government and in the NHS itself has been corroded by this and may be irreversible.
Yeah. I did hear the Haemophilia Scotland group charity did welcome the report, though they thought this covered a lot of things that they felt that previous reports hadn't covered.
Yes, it was looked into in 2015, but inadequately.
That's what they felt, yeah.
And you might see on our YouTube page, we did put a small clip from John Swinney, who spoke in Parliament a couple of days ago, and he was, I suppose to summarise, he was saying that the UK government response And the leading Casey, who's been put in charge of compensation, he will have the full support of the Scottish Government. So there's going to be no argument about who's responsible. The UK Government and the Scottish Government are going to work together on this, so the First Minister says.
Hopefully.
All right, well, we move on to the ERCC story. Do you want to do that one, Jeanette?
Sure. So that's the Edinburgh Rape Crisis Center, created in 1978 to offer a safe refuge to women who had faced male violence, offering its services to women in Edinburgh and the Lothians. Its chief executive officer is a trans-identifying non-binary person, Miradel Wadha.
Midrul Wadwa, I think, is the pronunciation.
In 2020, the centre's chief operations officer was Maggie Chapman, MSP, of the Scottish Green Party. So in 2020, Ross Adams began working with the ERCC as a counsellor. And over the next year, events which took place forced Adams to leave her job in 2023. She felt that her position was made impossible, and she took her old employees to an industrial tribunal claiming constructive dismissal. This Monday, in a powerful and damning verdict, the tribunal found in favour of Ms Adams, who has been fully vindicated. She will receive a compensation award. The amount is yet to be decided. Adams left her job as counsellor following an internal inquiry into her alleged transphobia, a term used by some trans rights activists referring to people who don't think that a person's sex is a matter of choice. This inquiry was described as reminiscent of the author Franz Kafka, who wrote about nightmare trials where the reader could not figure out what exactly the victim was accused of. Adams told the tribunal that she had not been aware of the suggestion that trans women are women until she met Chapman in 2020. This mantra, a solid belief in the Scottish Greens Party, means that a man who has a gender recognition certificate is an actual female, even if she has not yet had a sex change operation. The issue which provoked Adams to leave her employment came later. A woman user of the services asked Miss Adams whether another worker at the centre was a man or a woman. The services explained that she would be very uncomfortable if she had to tell her story to a man. Miss Adams therefore asked colleagues at the centre to clarify the sex of the other worker. That apparently was seen by the centre's management as transphobia and led to Miss Adams being placed under investigation for her unacceptable beliefs. In finding for the claimant, the tribunal pointed out, however, that Miss Adams' beliefs that a man can't become a woman are entirely lawful. In fact, they are specifically upheld by the UK Equality Act of 2010, which states that it's unlawful to discriminate against a person because of his or her beliefs. Later cases, for example, Forstater versus CGD Europe 2022, have established that so-called gender-critical beliefs are also included in this section, along with religious or philosophical beliefs. The ERCC may feel that Miss Adams' beliefs were wrong. They, however, must follow the law of the land, and she is allowed to hold these beliefs. Welcoming the tribunal's decision, Ross Adams said, "They unanimously found that the Edinburgh Rape Crisis Center unlawfully discriminated against me on the grounds of my gender-critical beliefs and constructively, unfairly dismissed me. This is a victory for all people who have been subjected to sexual violence, who need a choice of worker and group support on the basis of sex in order to feel safe. For me, it validates and makes worthwhile 3 years of struggle." The ERCC, which has not apologised to Miss Adams, said they were saddened by the outcome of the tribunal and will now take time to reflect on the written judgment. They said, "We strive to provide a safe, reasonable, accessible and inclusive service and are committed to improving continuously. We are fully supportive of Rape Crisis Scotland's commissioning of an independent review of how we are working their practice." Ross Adams is now working for Bearis Place, which offers similar services to those of the ERCC, but to women only. Vieira's Place was set up and funded by the Scottish-based writer and philanthropist J.K. Rowling. The ERCC is funded by the Scottish Government.
Now, those are the only stories we have tonight. As we've said, we will, of course, be looking at the election, and we'll see what issues arise during there, and we'll do either some short stories like this, or we'll do some longer, deep dives into some of the more complicated aspects. Let's just quickly discuss that last one. It's interesting that Ros Adams said that when Maggie Chapman said to her, trans women are women. I think about the same time I remember reading on Twitter X, the leaders of the Scottish Green Party, certainly Patrick Harvey, whom I'd been following, he put that out on Twitter, and I was quite surprised. I don't know about you, but that must have been about the same time, because I expected he'd be talking about sustainability or transition away from oil or a bottle return scheme, but he posted, and he's several times repeated it, trans women are women. I thought, are they? Well,
and then again, Nicola.
What's that got to do with the Green Party, I was thinking? Is that what you're about?
It's only been 3 years, this when we think about this whole ideology sort of thing. I know that's a contentious term, trans ideology, because some people would say gender critical was also an ideology, which I think that's what the Employment Tribunal accepted there, that was her ideology and she was entitled to have it. They weren't supporting one way or the other. They were just saying, you're entitled to hold these beliefs. Yeah.
Well, you are indeed, but the strange thing is, to me, the word inclusive, the Edinburgh Rape Crisis Center says we want to be open and inclusive.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they should be. They shouldn't let me in. I think they should be exclusive of blokes. Well, that's my philosophical belief.
Well, I mean, the workers at Miss Adams made the point, didn't she, that violence towards women is 99% committed by men. So that's why she upheld the idea that women should have a right to say, I don't want to talk to a man about whatever's been happening to you. I mean, obviously, if the Edinburgh Rape Crisis Center, do they? I don't know. Do men go in there and say they have suffered sexual violence, do they?
I don't know. There was some talk of some men have suffered difficult
and
times.
if that's the issue, then I am inclusive of that. I think it's fair enough if they want to go in.
Yeah, that's a fair point, but shouldn't there be a separate service for men in that position?
Or even somebody who goes in and says, I'm a young bloke, this happened to me, I want to speak to a man about it. Or I want to speak to a woman, a choice of them. I think that's what Ros Adams is saying. She wasn't saying that the service shouldn't help men who had been who suffered sexual abuse. I think she was just saying people have the choice to say, I want to speak to a woman, I want to speak to a man. I mean, I remember the fight in the 80s. As old feminists used to say to the police that women had a right to talk to women when they were going reporting rape and other sexual violence crimes. They should be speaking to a woman, and it was a big fight because it was like, why were police officers were able to take any kind of evidence? But the whole idea, we had to get round the whole idea but it was like reinforcing the offence that had been committed against the women. It was like they were reliving it, they felt, because they were talking to a male body, and it was a male body that had, a different male body, we know, but a male body that had perpetrated that abuse on them. So I can talk. That was the argument that we won then. I think women would understand more.
Yeah, sometimes women need and are entitled to women-only spaces.
I think so.
But what do you think? We'd like to know. We're getting quite a lot of comments now, and if we get a chance, we do like to reply to them. So most of the comments are friendly. And our replies are always friendly. So if you want to say something about our programmes, you're very welcome. And try and keep it nice and friendly. You can disagree with us, but let's do that in a civilised way, as most people do, in fact.
Absolutely.
You will always get a reply from us in a civilised manner, won't you do that?
Always.
We're very civilised people. Now, I'm just wondering now, moving on to the general election, do you think this issue is going to come up? I mean, the issue of, the Scottish Government is committed officially to a bill banning conversion therapy. And as far as I know, Labour is also committed to that. So although it might be controversial in Scotland, but it could well be taken out of Scotland's hands. Now, so Labour has been I think, in some difficulty. Over the last year or so, Labour has sometimes said, yes, we support transgender rights. A lot of people in Labour say trans women are women. But there's also a lot of, women's groups in the Labour Party who are saying, no, that's gone too far. Now, in other words, you could say trans rights, yes, people who are transitioning have every right to live their life in the opposite sex. But there are exceptions in the law. As we've said, there are men who maybe go through their life as women, but there are some places where the law says, no, you're not getting in here. So are they going to, is Labour going to push for greater, to make it easier for trans people to identify as trans and to get into places that should belong to the other sex?
Who knows?
Right, so I wonder how that's going to go.
I think they're changing their ideas on it. I mean, I think the CAST report has made people rethink some of the issues on it. Yeah. Would you say? It
should do, yeah, because it has been accepted by almost all parties, although not the Scottish Green Party. They really have thoroughly rejected it, but they're not in the Scottish Government anymore, are they?
No.
So again, let us know what you think about that. I think probably we should just leave it there, Jeanette, because as I have said, there will be plenty to talk about in the forthcoming election. So what we plan to do on News for Scotland is to take the big topics that are being debated week by week, and we'll do specials on them. In fact, Jeanette has actually got a couple of specials you've recorded already. Just wee 5 minutes dives into one particular subject. So you should be seeing more and more of those appearing on our YouTube channels. So please watch them.
And I'm just glad we're inside. We're not outside getting soaking wet. Soonest. And we had a £2,000 jacket on.
Who was it said this morning? One of the big noises being transmitted over the sound system was by Steve Bray, the anti-Brexit campaigner. He's been there ever since Brexit, with a big sound system.
Things can only get better.
He was playing Things Can Only Get Better, but as one commentator said, maybe he should have changed the words to Things Can Only Get Wetter. So on that damp note...
It was pure soonest. That's what people are saying now instead of soaked.
Pure soonest, OK. So that's it from Hugh Stewart and Jeanette Hill. So thanks for watching it, and we'll be back. Follow us on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter. Get in touch, leave a comment, and tell your friends about us. OK, thanks.
Please subscribe.
Thank you. Subscribe. Bye-bye.